I am now just rambling here on different ideas that we came across in this study. Just a word about couples counseling. Yes, counseling in general is very, very helpful in untangling some of the mindsets and also offering suggestions of better ways to handle anger, handle stress, and also how to repair relationships that have been damaged by domestic violence. I agree. Domestic violence, counseling has got many, many, many tools to do that. However, when we are talking about couples counseling, when someone is going through domestic violence, we must be careful as professionals to make sure that safety is first. Safety is first. Okay? A couple comes to you and you recognize the signs of domestic violence. Maybe it is confessed in the sessions that there's domestic violence. Because there has not been enough healing and enough treatment on the onset, the batterer will often blame the victim. That's number one. Number two, the victim will likely not feel free enough to talk about the core issues, even if she knows them. Why? Because when they go home, it becomes an issue. Number three, she may take the courage and actually go ahead and say, well, you know, yesterday he punched me. When they go home, it becomes an issue. So safety planning must be a very big part of the therapy intervention from the onset up until possibly separation for a period. When there has been significant enough progress and that can actually be verified, that there has been enough progress in insight and in a self-regulation on the part of the batterer, at that time, you can now slowly bring in the victim. Okay? Because then now it's a safer space. And it may not happen overnight, but that really ought to be the way we go, because if we try to do it any other way, then we re-victimize the victim. Okay? I just want to make sure that we make it clear here. We are not saying we propose divorces. Amekuchapa, mwache. You know, that's not automatic. This is your spouse. Okay? Women by nature, we try many different things before we settle down to accepting a divorce. So we're not saying here that we want the breakdown of the marriage to be an automatic outcome. All we are saying is that we want to address that elephant in the room, the domestic violence. Domestic violence is what we are trying to attack. If we can eradicate it, then that is the goal, even within the marriage. If it means that they do that from separate houses or rooms for a while, so be it. But safety first. Safety first. If a man cannot manage to stay without abusing her, she must leave. If he cannot withhold himself from abusing her, then she must take care of herself and the children. Safety first. Okay? So I've just put those out there for us to look at. Let's move on to the next slide. I'm briefly going to talk about the profile of a domestic violence victim, knowing that here in this presentation, we're talking about the woman. And I'm deliberately kept this to one slide because we are not talking about a woman ever deserving to be abused. She never deserves to be abused. She's never the reason for the abuse. Why is she staying there? She must like it. Please, let's be careful with the things that we say. It's a complex dynamic why a victim stays in a domestic violence situation. There's no woman that any one of us know that likes to be hit, kicked, raped, abused. There's not one woman. So why do they stay? It's a complex answer. And hopefully we'll get a chance to do another presentation where we can talk about just that dynamic. Why do women stay? Fear of leaving. The most risky time for a victim is not during the abusive marriage. It is when she decides to leave. Because now she's wrestling with the power and control demon, and it does not like to lose. Ati, where are you going? Who are you going to? You're not leaving this house unless you're dead. No, we cannot blame the victim because we do not know what it is like for her in that dynamic. Maybe she has no money, she has nowhere to go. She has children. Okay, maybe he convinces her. He really has her mind down, manipulated and confused about whether he will ever change. It's a woman's nature to try and hang on and fix and help him. It's her nature. Okay? However, by the time she realizes this is beyond her, oftentimes it's at a very critical stage. Many of the women who die in domestic violence relationships were on their way out. They told the man, I'm about to leave you now, I'm about to divorce you. It's very important. If you are in a domestic violence relationship and you realize that you're dealing with a very strong power and control, I call it a demon, power and control demon, that has tried, that is completely determined to keep you in place, then don't go tangazing, oh, by the way, Kesho, I'm going to go. No, you don't go announcing your plans. You plan ahead of time, over time. You pack a bag, you hide it, you save some money, you hide it, you call a friend, you have a code word when you contact each other. If I tell you, Guashe, know that it's time for you to come and pick me from the gate, me and my children, and we will run. You disconnect your phone, you do not go familiar places, and you hide. Safety planning. But we're not talking about the victim today. All we're highlighting is that anyone can be a victim. Any age, any gender, any sexual orientation, any race can be a victim. It is not your fault that you are being abused. There are risk and contributing factors for remaining in an abusive relationship. There are things that you can and should do in the name of still supporting your partner and your spouse. I'm not saying that you villainize your spouse, but with that same love that you have for the spouse, you can do some things that are also safety generating for you and your family. So the bottom line there is no, it's never the victim's fault to be abused. But we can discuss that another day. So there are several resources that are available in Kenya, thankfully, for domestic violence victims. I'm not familiar with many that are available for the batterer. Men's groups, counselors that specialize in male battery. I'm not sure of many that have that. I know that there is free counseling services. I know, Agari, you had mentioned some. If you don't mind, please put them in the chat box for all to see so that they can at least reach out. We need services for the men. The men themselves are not the problem. Again, the men themselves are not the problem. It is the abuse of power and control. Again, it's not even the power and control that is a problem. In a marriage, a man will typically have some power and some control over his wife. That is the nature of marriage. The problem is not in some power and control over your wife or the girlfriend. The problem is misuse and abuse of power and control. That is the problem. If you use your power and control to protect, to provide, to care for, to lead, to be the man of the home, to make sure that the children are getting everything that they need, that you are playing the role of a man, then you are using your power and control as is correct. Please use that power and control the right way. But if you're using it the wrong way, to divide the family, to break people down, to hurt them, to cause them to be in fear, then now it is no longer being used correctly. So please go ahead and share additional resources that you may have here, that you may know about. Let's have a comprehensive listing. I have added quite a few slides, quite a few resources here that you're free to explore at your own time, that speak to this issue of the role of men in domestic violence. It's 2 slides, and some of them are videos, and you can go ahead and, I don't know what I did there. I think, let me get back. You can go ahead and share them, discuss, and let's see here. And now I'm going to go ahead and take questions and comments. So what I'm going to do is follow the lining of the chats. And hopefully I'll stop the share. Okay, hello everybody. Hello everybody. Thank you so much for participating. Thank you. Now I see the chats. Thank you. I see all the emails. I'm going to go ahead and copy these emails so that I can send you this presentation. Thank you so much. Can we have audio contributions? Yes, I would love that. Excuse me. Let me try go up to the beginning of the chat. Morning, morning. Okay. Thank you, Sheila, for being here. Thank you, Lucy, Eunice, Sally. Thank you all for being here. Julius, thank you so much. Thank you. We appreciate the men, and thank you for your patience with us. As we discuss you, but not you as batterers, you as men. Again, I want to emphasize, we are not attacking the men. We are asking for their support. Now, the statistics per county in Kenya. I am going to tell you right now that not enough studies have been done to verify the statistics. We need people to go out and do these studies. In each county, what is the prevalence of domestic violence? Another thing that we need is, there's one national research center, and the link is in one of, their link is one of the references there. They did a comprehensive study. I think it's the National Crime Research Center. Yeah, they did a comprehensive study in 2014 on domestic violence in Kenya. That is a good start. It's a good start. If you're looking for numbers, it's a good start. They've done quite a bit of research. There's also the Gender Center, and forgive me, I'm abbreviating them, but all their links are in the flyers, in the last slides. Go ahead and contact them, reach out to them and ask them, what numbers do you have? I was reading that the Gender Recovery Center, they started about 10 years ago. They have already handled about 43,000 cases. 43,000 cases. Okay, so yeah, forgive me, I do not know the specifics of the statistics, but there are ways to find out. There's also been a call to continue monitoring domestic violence numbers. So that's an ongoing project that any one of us can pick up. Okay. A number of DV cases have been found to occur in marriages. Oftentimes, battery happens between partners that know each other and trust each other. It is part of the pattern. Starts off with trust and love, and then before you know it, umepigwa, and you're like, how did that happen? Because you are not expecting it, you continue to perpetrate the cycle of domestic violence. Okay? Cycle of domestic violence. Okay? So yes, oftentimes it happens in marriages, and it really has no proper place in marriage. So if you're experiencing that, please, either as the batterer or the victim, please see it as something to address. Okay? Low self-esteem, yes. Low self-esteem is one of the contributing factors when someone feels that they cannot handle or they cannot keep a partner except by physical force. Yes, that's an issue. Build up the self-esteem. Mental health professionals help the person build up their self-esteem so that they don't need to use a fist to keep someone in the house. Okay. Our cultural orientations. This is a very big issue. Thank you so much, Life Pillars. Thank you for bringing that up. A lot of our cultures are male-dominated, and battery is frowned upon in some, but in many not. It's seen as a part of a man's role. Now, the challenge with it is we, like female genital mutilation, FGM, these are one of the things that we need to address. We need to address it. It's one of the things that we can't just sit down and say that automatically, because it has been there in our culture, automatically it must continue indefinitely. We need to address it. It's not an easy change. It will take time. One of the studies that I came across was saying that even if one family, one couple decide domestic violence is not going to be happening in this home, yet, however, in their surrounding community, it is still prevalent. It is oftentimes that the man may revert back to battery, not because he doesn't agree it's not right, but because it's a societal thing. Even if it's a number of families that have put a stand and said we're not going to do it, but the larger community says we will, it takes time. It takes time, and it takes a very firm stand to say we are now setting a new standard for our community. It takes time to change a society. It takes years, but that does not mean that we don't start. Okay. Most families are sick because of the small issues that pile up and pass unresolved. Yes, stress, especially now when we're going through COVID. Yeah? Anxiety, fear of death is in the house. Yeah? We have got economic hardships. The children are driving us crazy. All right. There are relational issues. Yeah? The mpango wa kando is calling. Now the wife is annoyed. Yeah, there are issues that are happening in the home. People are sick. People are dying. You've got funerals now that you cannot attend. There's grief. There are many issues that have compounded now during this issue, this time of COVID. However, I just want to encourage you that violence still is not the answer. Violence is still not the answer. Okay. Complex PTSD, yes, PTSD. When people have experienced trauma of all kinds, war, and our healthcare workers who are coming out of this COVID crisis, possibly many of them will have PTSD. Okay. we need to resolve that. As comorbid disorders, where you have somebody who is both substance abuse addicted as well as being schizophrenic. Yeah, you're dealing with somebody who is not mentally well in the home. Still, violence can be curbed even in that scenario. Even in that scenario, it can be curbed with the help of health professionals, the support of neighbors. You can come up with a plan on how to handle the person when they are in a violent state, and how, when they are calm and reasonable, how to discuss it. Okay, this is a community issue. It's a community solution. Forgive me, I'm just going to read through these quickly before I take audios. The stigma with mental health. Yeah, a lot of us do not want to admit that we have a mental health issue. But the truth is, majority of us have a mental health issue of a kind or another. Even if it's depression, anxiety, we have a condition of some kind or another. Yeah? But that does not mean that now we have to tolerate domestic violence. Community policing will help could help reduce cases of DV. Absolutely. And we need that. Can we talk about maybe starting a campaign? You know how we have the Kumi Kumi campaign, you know your neighbors 10 doors down on either side. Let's make it our business when domestic violence steps in, that we step in. Let's just be clear on that. Marital problems, marital issues, marital arguments and disagreements, yes, are within the context of the family. They are private and they should be discussed within the confines of the family. Issues can be resolved within the family. They should remain within the family. Yes, I agree. But when violence steps into the conversation, when violence becomes a part of the conversation, it now becomes a community issue. It now becomes a community issue. We should not allow ourselves to be people who sit back when I hear my neighbor being thrown over the balcony. Call the police, call neighbors, knock on the door. Sometimes just someone knocking on your door stushes you, and you come back to your senses and you stop that abuse. Call them on the phone. Are you all right? Friends, call. Hey, Jimmy, Nikki. No, we're not going to tolerate. Askari, kuja. Let's do what we need to do to prevent the abuse. If a batterer does not want people in their business, then don't abuse. Don't abuse. Let's think about things in that way. The battering meets a need for the batterer. Absolutely, yes. People don't do things that do not suit them. It is serving a purpose. It is giving them sugar in their tea. And we've talked about some of the reasons why. Power and control is a huge sweetener. I like to feel powerful. I like to feel in control. It is a huge sweetener. What we're calling for now is, let's lessen this sweetness by confronting it. Yes, I can hit her, but I'll go to jail. I'll have to talk to the elders tomorrow. I will be laughed at by my neighbors, or my neighbors will confront me when I leave the house tomorrow. Let's lessen the sweetness of the power and control as a deterrent. Many mothers have pushed their daughters and indeed sons into continually abusive relationships. Yes, and let's counter that. Mothers-in-law, please don't be a terror accomplice in the home. Please go ahead and encourage domestic violence prevention, not continuation. Do not join the batterer in manipulation. Are there safe houses for women going through GBV? I would contact the Gender Recovery Center. There is also a resource in one of the slides that you will be able to get. There's a resource that you can contact. It has a list of places. I believe there's one safe haven called Kimbilio. I don't know how they're doing at this time during COVID, but that brings up another good point. Let us support the community resources that are there currently. Let us support them. Let us contact them and ask them, how can we help you? Because they are a lifeline right now for many people with domestic violence, especially the safe havens. Let's call them and find out, what can we do? Can we bring food? Some might say, no, you can bring food, but don't bring clothes. Okay, that's fine. Or if the food is being routed through DV centers, COVID centers, go ahead and do that. If they need money, send them money. Because these ladies, when they're running away, they're running at a time of crisis. Okay. Child experiences, child traumas, very significant issue. And that's why I emphasize that we should not condemn the batterers. Let's go ahead and help them work through these issues. We have men going through domestic violence. Yes, yes, yes. We have men going through domestic violence. And it is not okay in that situation either. We need to have a discussion. And I'm sorry, I apologize, gentlemen, that we won't have time to address that fully here, but can we have that discussion, please? Women, those of you who are batterers, stop. It's shameful. It's not correct. Do not use your words to cut. That is our tool of preference. We like to use our words to cut. Okay? No, let's stop it. Let's not use manipulation, sexual manipulation, economic manipulation, physical abuse, women beating up their men. No, it's not okay. Humiliation. Stop. Do not become part of the problem. The men ought to be safe in their own homes as well. Let's talk about that more. Male batterers, yeah, male victims, we have them, yes, and they need to be taken care of as well. Sorry, okay, I am now going to stop talking because now it's like a monologue. I agree. Okay, I've gone ahead and muted everybody, but you have now the capacity to unmute yourself. So if you'd like us, maybe we should have a small queue here. If you just put your name in the chat box, if you would like to go ahead and speak, and then I'll call upon you and then you can unmute. Is that a good way for us to do it? Okay, so just if you have something to say.
Good morning.
Hello, how are you, Edwin? Go ahead.
Fine, thank you.
Yes.
I have two concerns.
Yes.
One, before I make my concern, I appreciate when we make it all inclusive, both the abuser and the abused. Now, also we have children. Like now, I have children who are very concerned when they see their male father figure in the house throughout the day, and one asked the mother, "What if daddy stays with us? What is daddy doing staying with us now?" Secondly, we have cases where due to economic empowerment, the other person is humiliated and is set aside also in decision making. This is the time where most of the cases will arise, especially if they are gender based. The other question is, or maybe this is a comment, is that we need now to look at, when we talk about nyumba kumi kumi, also it's good now to maybe to strategize or to have an investment of all stakeholders, the professionals within a community, so that now they can have what we call community support centers, where people can experience their diversity and also they can share their strengths and weaknesses as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Edwin. Those are very, very good points. I love the idea of the community centers. Yes, when the power and the control shifts from male to female, maybe because of economic reasons, or even just being in a community that now favors the women over the men, whatever the reason, it still does not give anyone license, male or female, to go ahead and abuse. And definitely now in this COVID period, the children are experiencing a new dynamic when they see mommy and dad interacting. Yes, so they are either going to see positive or they'll see negative. So yeah, that is thank you so much for those points, Edwin. I really appreciate it. I really love that idea of community. Go ahead and maybe brainstorm further how we can go ahead and implement those. Okay, anybody else? Okay, so I'm taking it that the hand up means that you're ready to speak. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hello, how are you, Life Pillars?
Fine, thank you. This is Ruth. I'm reading as Life Pillars.
Okay.
My question was, or rather, I was expecting maybe we could hear from a man who has had an experience being an abuser, because I think some of these things don't sink in until you hear from the mouth, of a perpetrator.
Yes.
I think my expectation was, I don't know why, that there would be someone, maybe sharing the experience. But even so, even for the women, if anyone would be willing to share, because I think their dynamics we may not grasp. We have the paper information, but there are real life dynamics we may not grasp because we have diverse cultural backgrounds, as well as different views of life. So maybe a request, if there's anybody like that who's willing to share, or if you have, as the host, have interviewed someone like that, really what were their actual words, because those ones then give you insight into so many things.
Yes.
Yeah, and thank you for the forum. It's awesome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for participating. Yes, that is a wonderful idea. I think the reason you got that idea is because of the title of it was Perspective of a Male Batterer. Yeah, that might just be my English that I could not find a better way to say we're looking at the male batterer. But really, why don't we take this opportunity now to just invite any gentleman who feels, just knowing that this is a safe space, share what you can share with us as a community here about being a batterer, the mindset behind being a batterer. Please, you're welcome. Anybody who can give us some insights? It might not be you yourself who was the batterer, but maybe having been around other batterers, you have an idea what they say. Maybe just share that with us.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
So my name is Daniel.
Hello, Daniel. Thank you so much. Go ahead.
Okay, now, some few months ago, I witnessed a couple who had frequent fights in the house. And the most challenging part is that the children were siding with the mother. Hello?
Yes.
And you see the mother was like, if I can call the breadwinner.
I see.
She was working in a good company, but the husband was doing the hustling kind of jobs. So she could slap the husband in front of the kids, and the kids will cheer her up. And it reached the point where the man almost destroyed the whole family because he said the house was on fire when everyone was asleep. But the neighbors came in and they were able to rescue the family, but there are serious burns. So some of these domestic violence we're seeing are also coming from the woman side to the man. Some of these men cannot speak up. They are silently undergoing these painful times in their houses, and it's too abusive, and the children are seeing this, and we are bringing a very bad generation. Trust me, you bring a very bad generation. So this is another challenge which I feel it needs to be addressed.
Okay, thank you so much, Danny. I think you bring up a very good point, because it looks like when the dynamics in the family shift and change,
yeah,
can make somebody feel like now I'm being disrespected in my home.
Yeah.
So that is something that we need to discuss and brainstorm. How can we address these issues? We need to also address the female batterers. Hopefully that will also be one of the tools to reduce it. Thank you so much, Danny. I appreciate that. That's a good insight. Anybody else? Any other gentleman?
Hello.
Hello.
Are you here?
Hi.
Yes, my name is Ruth.
Hello, Ruth. Welcome.
Ruth. Yes. I wanted to say from this approach that mostly the batterers don't just wake up and batter.
Yes.
There is a history to it.
Yes.
Most of the time somebody says, I'm going to kill you, I'm going to do this. It's good to take that seriously and help the person to be able to address the issue before it becomes a crisis. So really what I'm saying is